The question of today's episode: can Qigong help with teen anxiety? Welcome to the Jade Dragon podcast, where ancient wisdom meets modern science. In today's episode, we're diving into a fascinating study that brings together the world of traditional Chinese medicine and contemporary mental health, specifically how Qigong may help teenagers manage anxiety in our increasingly stressful educational environments. Imagine a high school classroom where students aren't just learning algebra and literature, but also how to regulate their nervous systems. That's the vision behind a study published in Advances in Mind-Body Medicine in 2021 by researchers Rodriguez and colleagues. Their research explored the impact of a traditional Qigong practice on anxiety levels among high school students in Portugal. What makes this study so compelling is that it didn't just rely on questionnaires and subjective feedback. It also measured cortisol, a hormone released by the body during stress, giving us both psychological and physiological data to work with. The study involved 104 students between the ages of 13 and 18, randomly divided into 3 groups. One group practiced Qigong, another group watched relaxing nature documentaries, and a third group carried on with their normal school routine. The Qigong practice was based on a sequence known as Dao Yin, which includes slow, deliberate movements, controlled breathing, and focused intention. It was designed specifically to calm what traditional Chinese medicine calls the Shen, a term that refers to the mind or spirit, and is said to reside in the heart. According to this tradition, when the Shen is disturbed, emotional unrest, including anxiety, arises. The goal of the Qigong intervention was to harmonize the Shen, thereby reducing anxiety and improving emotional clarity. Each Qigong session lasted around 15 to 20 minutes and took place during school hours over a 6-week period. The researchers used a standardized tool, the State Trait Anxiety Inventory, to assess both temporary situational anxiety and the more enduring personality trait of being anxious. They also collected saliva samples to measure cortisol levels, offering a biochemical snapshot of how the students' stress levels changed over time. So what happened? The results were impressive. The students who practiced Qigong showed a significant reduction in both state and trait anxiety compared to those in the control groups. State anxiety dropped by nearly 14%, while trait anxiety declined by just over 7%. Even more intriguing was the gender difference. Male students, in particular, seemed to benefit the most, showing nearly a 20% reduction in their immediate anxiety levels. Cortisol levels, while not statistically significant across all groups, still showed a meaningful downward trend in the Qigong group, a hint that their bodies, not just their minds, were becoming calmer. What's the mechanism behind this? Qigong has a unique way of regulating the autonomic nervous system. It shifts the body out of the sympathetic fight or flight state and into the parasympathetic rest and digest mode. This is achieved through deep diaphragmatic breathing, slow movements, and present moment awareness, all of which stimulate the vagus nerve and help down-regulate the stress response. In Western science, this process supports regulation of the HPA axis, the system responsible for cortisol release. In traditional Chinese medicine, it's seen as balancing the heart and kidney channels and anchoring the Shen. The practice also cultivates interoceptive awareness, the ability to sense what's happening inside your body, and gives students a form of nonverbal, embodied emotional regulation, Unlike cognitive therapy, which requires verbal processing, Qigong invites students to develop a relationship with their own internal state through posture, breath, and movement. It's a kind of internal literacy that modern education rarely teaches, but deeply needs. One of the most encouraging aspects of the study is its practicality. Qigong is low cost, requires no equipment, and can be done in a classroom without disrupting the school day. Teachers in the study reported that students seemed calmer and more focused after sessions. And importantly, the practice was accessible to everyone, regardless of fitness level, background, or prior experience. For male students, who are often harder to engage in traditional mental health programs, Qigong provided a quiet, non-stigmatizing way to connect with themselves and regulate their emotions. Of course, no single intervention is a panacea, but this study provides a strong foundation for the inclusion of Qigong in school wellness programs. It offers a compelling blend of ancient wisdom and contemporary science, demonstrating that movement, breath, and stillness can have measurable effects on adolescent mental health. In a world where anxiety among teens is rising and schools are searching for sustainable solutions, this kind of research points to a hopeful direction. So whether you're an educator, a parent, or a health professional, consider what it might mean to bring practices like Qigong into the daily rhythm of student life. You don't need a temple or a mat, just a few minutes, a little space, and the willingness to slow down and reconnect. Thanks for joining me today on the Jade Dragon podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow us for more stories at the intersection of tradition and science. You can find the full study by Rodriguez et al. In Advances in Mind-Body Medicine, Volume 35, Issue 3. Until next time, stay grounded, breathe deeply, and let your mind focus.